Welcome back to Real Talk with Realtors about real things, real estate mostly, and real stuff, and whatever else we can think of. So today we're going to get Brandi's blind reaction to different, I hate to use the word statistic, but that's what these are different random statistics about the market that National Association of Realtors put out on their website that I found interesting. So I want to see what your reaction is to some of these, and like maybe we'll spark a discussion.
Can I start the first discussion really quick?
Yeah.
We've been wearing the same outfit for every Tuesday for the last 3 weeks.
I thought,
Just kidding.
I thought you meant like you and I. I was like, oh, we are kind of matching.
We are matching. But anyway, it's just a little joke. And that,
compliment.
guess what? We batch recorded these.
Yeah. So don't judge.
Maybe you should cut that out. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Okay, give me the first reaction. Or first,
okay.
whatever.
First statistic for your reaction. 41% of home buyers who recently bought a new home did so to avoid the cost of renovations and older home issues with plumbing or electrical. So they bought a new home. Like
41% bought a new home. Wow. That is a lot considering that there's not a lot of new builds out there.
Right. This is nationwide, but yes.
But still, I mean, nationwide, there are not a lot of, I mean, they're having a hard time keeping up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I get it. You know, you buy a house with older plumbing, older electrical, older everything. It's all in the walls.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, I mean, you can change the kitchen and the way it looks, but you can't change the bones unless you rip the house apart.
I wonder if they do mean new build or if they mean like a certain date and sooner. Because it doesn't specify on here. I assumed it meant new build, but it just says a new home. So I bought last year and I bought a 2018 home, which I consider new. Like
True.
Last year's 3 or 4 years old. And I bought a new home because I previously bought a 1969 home. And so I know what comes with that. And I didn't want to deal with plumbing and electrical issues and a new roof and a new HVAC. Like all those things were, I could just, like you said, renovate the looks of it and not the bones of it.
Right. But on the other hand, you don't get some of the charming, you know, like the tree lined streets and the mature trees. If you buy in a new subdivision, you are also have no trees. They're just little sticks, and you have to buy all your window coverings, which could be like 10 grand. And typically you have to put in backyard landscaping. So there definitely are some pros and cons to new builds, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, next one. 31% of home buyers who bought previously owned homes, so not new, did so because of the lower price compared to new homes. So they would have bought a new build, but instead they needed something a little cheaper.
I feel like in our area that the new builds are somewhat competitive with around the same pricing.
The two-story ones are for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Some of them are even like that DR Horton stuff up there is pretty.
$500K for 1,700 square feet.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty good.
But you got to do the landscaping. You got to do the window coverings. All the things.
They have a lot of new builds have teeny tiny yards.
Right.
Tiny yards.
Very small yards. Where you buy an older home, it was back in the day when we didn't need as much space. I mean, we weren't trying to conserve space, so you could build bigger. Now the city, I think, even wants you to condense and have smaller lots because we're running out of dirt.
Mm-hmm. And I'm actually surprised that the statistic isn't about that, because I think a lot of people buy older homes because of the bigger yards rather than all the new builds have tiny yards. Like unless you're buying a fancy $1 million home on an acre, you're not getting it
like
much
those,
of a yard.
At least in Chico, the ones like on Huckleberry.
Yeah, in Chico.
Around like acre lots or something, or half acres.
So next one is the nearly half, so 49% of buyers cited the quality of the neighborhood as the number one factor in choosing a location. Does that surprise you? No. What's your blind reaction?
My blind reaction is duh.
Right. Because it's the only thing you can't change.
Right. Yeah. I mean, quality of the neighborhood. Yeah. You want to live in a nice neighborhood if possible. If you have versus a crappy neighborhood, of course you're going to go for the nicer neighborhood. Now, is the quality nicer neighborhood close to amenities like schools and shopping and all of those things? I guess you just take that into consideration. But no, that's definitely not breaking, shocking news.
Yeah.
Can qualities of neighborhoods change over time?
Oh, great question.
Can qualities of neighborhoods change over time?
100%. Yes. Yeah. I mean, especially when that's the thing about buying new construction. You don't know what that neighborhood's going to end up to be in the future. True. And when you have an established neighborhood, that's such a great question, Courtney. When you have an established neighborhood, you know what you're buying. You know the quality of the neighborhood. It's been there for 30, 40, 50 years.
Without changing, potentially.
Yeah, yeah. But can some of those neighborhoods go down? Yeah, they can. I mean, gosh, if we look at some of the things that have happened in our city of Chico.
That's true.
Neighborhoods that we never thought were going to be an issue now have some, I'm not going to go into that because it's a little political, but there's just, I'm sure the people that live in those neighborhoods never thought they were going to have a problem with their foot traffic, let's just say.
So the next, or not the next reason, but it says another reason that buyers chose the home that they chose. 37% of buyers cited convenience to friends and family or overall affordability for the reason that they chose their home.
Yep.
Or a location in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's what's convenient for you.
Yeah. So maybe they wanted to be. I have actually a couple clients that really want their parents kind of in the same neighborhood as them. So they're trying to convince their parents to buy in their neighborhood.
And they want to pawn their kids
Hell
off
yeah.
on them.
Mom, if you're listening.
Still, be careful. I don't know.
I know. Be careful what you wish for. For
sure.
Sure.
In our area, it's Chico's so small. I mean,
it's
even,
10 minutes.
Even if you
to
live
get,
across town, it's not that far.
No. Okay. This is interesting and not surprising to me. Buyers typically paid 100% of the asking price for a home. 28% purchased a home for more than the asking price. I actually think it would be higher.
Me too. That was going to be what I was going to say. It was only 28% paid over the asking price. And
nationwide.
Nationwide. Is there a time frame on all of this? I mean,
I think in the last year.
Interesting. Well, 2022 was a different year. If you did that in 2021 and the first quarter of 2022.
Yeah.
I think it would have been higher. But yeah, 28% over asking to me. I mean, we still have people doing over asking right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of them are right now coming into the spring market.
That's shocking because it seems low.
Yeah. Okay. The typical home purchase had 1,800 square feet with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and was built in 1986. That's the average. That's interesting. 1986. At least you have updated plumbing and electrical in 1986 for the most part. And 1,800, I mean, that's like the size of home I grew up in. So that's kind of that middleman.
So like 1986 though was 40 years ago. So before 1986 was 1940s. So there were a lot more homes built in the we probably started building homes, a lot of homes in mass production, I would say. Well, I don't really know. It just seems to me that we were probably building more as the population of the United States went higher and higher. So that average just seems, 1986 seems like the middle of.
Right. Of like when we started building and
buying homes. When people,
today.
really like in the 1950s is when I kind of think of people buying homes. But I know they bought them before that, but
there just weren't as many. And like a lot, like families all live together in one home. Right. Now it's like each family has their own.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that makes sense. That number makes sense.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. And 1,800 square feet, like you can buy that as a first home or a second home, probably more than likely here in Chico, and stay there with your family for a long time if you needed to.
1,800 square feet is pretty good size.
It's a good size.
It's definitely not usually a first-time home buyer size.
No. But if you have, 2 kids, you fit there comfortably. We could have used a little more space personally growing up, but.
How big was your house?
It was about that size, but it was 2 stories. And we did have 2 living rooms, and we tried at one point to make the second living room work for like us to be separated from my parents or have our own little like space, but we just ended up hanging out in our rooms. So it doesn't matter.
My sister-in-law lived on Kern Street here in Chico. She had 11 brothers and sisters.
Oh my gosh.
And I think it was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath
on Kern. Yeah.
And I said, oh my God, how did you do that? She goes, well, actually it wasn't that bad because I was the youngest. And so by the time there were only 8 of us living there when I was, and I'm like, okay.
Well, now I sound like a spoiled brat.
Well, we all do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing though, that,
yeah.
that they, it was a single mom and
Oh, single mom. I can't even handle one puppy, let alone 11 children.
Her husband had passed away wasn't that.
How the heck do you? Oh, anyways, that's another podcast. We
I
should
know.
get her on this podcast.
I know.
Gosh.
She would love that. She's great.
Okay, last but not least. Well, maybe I might do one more. I don't know. Here's another one. The typical home buyer expected to keep and live in their homes for a median of 15 years. 28% said they had zero intention of ever moving. That's from a survey. That's a long time. 15 years. I feel like most people don't stay in their homes that long. I mean, these days they are staying a little bit longer. I think the average is 10 or 12.
Yeah, before it used to be like 5 to 7.
Yeah, but... It depends, right? Like starter home, you're not staying there for 15 years more than likely.
No.
1,800 square feet.
So what'd you read there? I didn't
So
understand.
the typical home buyer expected, so this is from the survey, they said they expected to keep and live in their homes for a median of 15 years. So keep it and live there for 15 years or more.
Not happening.
Right? I'm like, where did that come from? No.
But a lot of buyers say that, we're going to be here a long time.
We're going to be here a long time.
Uh-huh. And then
I'll call you in 2
5 years later, ring, ring.
Yep.
We're ready to move.
And then 28% said they will never move. How often have we heard that? Oh, we love this house. We're so happy here. We're never moving.
And that does happen, but it's pretty rare.
It's so rare. Okay. And then I wanted to talk about, this one is interesting. For sale by owner homes sold for an average of $225,000 compared to the average of $330,000 for agent assisted home sales.
Really?
$105,000 less.
Okay, so they saved in the commission.
They saved how much on commission?
Like 15?
5% of 300,000 on average.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's like 10 grand.
Right.
And you lost 105. It's just not worth it.
But you know what I think some of that might be too is that they sold it to a family member. They sold it to a friend.
Yeah, that could be for sure.
So maybe that kind of happens here in Chico when it's that hot property, like a golden triangle property or something like that. It just you never see them hit the market, but they've changed hands. And it's like somebody that knew somebody that wanted to, and they made the deal happen. Yeah. So maybe they didn't care that they lost $100,000. Yeah. I would care about $100,000.
I would too.
I mean, unless I was selling it to my kid, which I don't even have any. So I don't have to deal with that, but
no. I don't think there's a certain demographic that does for sale by owner. I think some for sale by owner folks do it because they don't see the value in an agent, or they think agents make too much money, or they've bought and sold 10 properties in their life and they think they know how to do it just fine.
Right. And maybe they do, but they are, what was that stat again? They're leaving money on the table.
$105K.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, because there's so many reasons. First of all, not only putting it on the MLS, and you can pay for an MLS entry only, but your description's not going to be good. Your photos are probably not going to be good unless you happen to hire a professional photographer. And then it's difficult for the agent because you don't have a normal lockbox, Sentry lockbox on there, or whatever you use in your area. The agent has to deal with somebody who doesn't have their hands in real estate every single day. So there's a lot of nuances that the seller's not aware of.
Yeah, and so that agent's going to have to do the job for both the seller and the buyer, but only get paid for one side, which is fine, I think, as long as they're getting their buyer the right house. But you're going to deter some agents from even wanting to show your house if you're willing to pay a one-sided fee, or if the buyer's paying the fee. I mean, we have an example of that right now in a subdivision where somebody has paid an MLS entry only. And I don't know what I can and can't say here, but there's 3 houses in this neighborhood. One's been on for, I don't know, 90 days, 120 days.
Yeah.
Other 2 just went on the last week and are already sold with multiple offers and over asking.
Yet this other one
sits and it's an MLS. It's not a licensed, being represented by a licensed realtor. It's just an MLS entry only. So, I mean, even if it was that stat was 50,000.
Right.
Because let's just say half of them were, I'm just going to sell this to my kid for $1, and it skews the numbers, or whatever the case may be. I mean, even if it was 50,000, That's a big difference. That's on top of after you've already paid the commissions, you're still going to make 50,000 more, right?
Yeah.
Or 30,000 more, whatever it is. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money. And I would rather pay $50,000 to a realtor to sell my house than leave $50,000 on the table.
Right.
You know, like I would rather just, like the money's going away one way or the other.
Right.
So you might as well get some help with this difficult process.
Right. It is a very difficult
That's like
process.
a whole podcast in and of itself.
Yep.
But anyways, that's the fun statistics I had for you. Thanks for playing.
Nice. Thanks. That was fun.
Cool.
Game
Okay.
show. Game
I
show
know.
time.
Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Okay, see you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in as always. And make sure you comment your thoughts below on any of those statistics that you thought were interesting. And also, I wanted to throw in there, check out if you're listening to this on podcast, it's also on our YouTube. So you can watch us if you want to. Oh, and Courtney, our videographer, podcast connoisseur, says that if you're on Spotify, you can view it as well. So make sure you check it out. Check out our Instagram, Laughins Team Chico, and see you on the next one.
See ya.